Primaris and Scepter.
Damn.
It's a vanilla 2-drop, 3/3. Like, I'd pick it up in draft only, and it's good for team up maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, team up. That's what I wrote. I gave it an F. I just didn't care.
Team up 2-drop. For exactly team up teams, I gave it a C-. Moving on. Primaris and Scepter, 3-drop, Mark X Gravis Power Armor. When Primaris and Scepter deals combat damage to an opponent, prep a die from your bag. So it has to go through unblock or deal some damage, like with, I don't know, Overcrush or something like that.
Yeah, there's a Kree soldier that was better, that kind of did the same thing and was cheaper.
Yeah, 3-drop, a blank text ability if it doesn't go through. I'm going to change mine. I used to have a C-, but I'm giving it a D because it doesn't have the impact. There's better out there, like you said.
Yep.
That's the epitome of the D. Anyway, moving on to Primaris and Scepter Meteoric Descent, the 3-drop that started off the spoilers for this set way back in the day.
That is true.
Where it all started. Range 1 built into this.
Yeah, I gave this an F/D.
Oh.
I know. I don't really care. 3 costs? No, I want it on 2 costs.
I will say this, if you're not playing Dreadnought because of whatever reason, and you're trying to go range only baked onto the characters, and you wanted to build like a Space Marines team, this is definitely going onto it. I mean, even if it's just like you're not even really range focused, and you're building a Space Marines team, this is definitely going onto it. So for that reason, I gave it a C+.
That's why I gave it the D, just because of, if you're building a Space Marines team, this is on it, probably.
2-drop, Primaris Intercessor, and They Shall Know No Fear. When fielded, if you control another Space Marine character die, Primaris Intercessor gains 1 attack. It's a 4/2 on top. Let's note that it's a 2-drop 4/2.
Wow.
You got to pay 2 to field it, unless you use a card coming up. In which case, you're paying 2.
It's good stats. It's okay. I don't think the +1 is neither here nor there. It's good stats regardless. It's cheap.
This is like a C. Like it's average. It's a 2-drop with 4/2, so in draft, like I would pick it up for that. Primaris Intercessor, favorite of Gulliman. While Primaris Intercessor is active, your Space Marine character dice cost 1 less to field. Wow, this one's way better. Let's just play this one all the time. This card, I'd say, is like a C+, almost B-, because if you're playing a Space Marines team, this is always on it, because Space Marines always cost 1 to 2 to field.
I'm just not sold on Space Marines, so I gave it a C. But yeah, I can see that. Cards like this are always good. That Nick Fury, the Made Avengers one, cheaper to field.
Yeah.
Super good.
It's a casual team, certainly. I'm not going to try and tell people to slap this together and bring it to, like, literally any, mid-level competition. But if you do want to build a Space Marines team, this is definitely going on it, and it will do some work. So C+, and almost B- because of that exact reason. It's sort of like a build-around card. Staple for that casual team. And finally, you have Versatile, which has Frag. Is the least bad in my opinion. And the reason is this. You can get multiple of these in the field, multiple of these attacking, and then multiple frag triggers, therefore dealing like 2 damage or 3 damage if this can KO something. And if this doesn't KO something, then they either have stuff that's in the field that's really strong, or they took 6 damage because they let 2 Primaris Intercessors through. And so all of a sudden frag becomes better on low drops with multiple possible triggers.
I see it. I just don't want to pay 2 fielding for something that I'm throwing at my opponent all the time.
Very good point. Yeah, that's a very good point.
But yes, if frag is going to work, this is going to be a card that makes it work, right?
Yeah, I am cheering on only this card, and therefore I gave it a C+, but it's probably more like a C-.
I give it a D.
So,
So I'm just being mean to Space Marines.
Next up, Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought. Bone Crusher, 5-drop, double affiliated. 5/7 on top. Got to pay 2 to get it out there. When it is KO'd, deal damage equal to its level to target opponent. This thing's not getting KO'd unless you're KOing it with some effect. It's a 4 defense, 6 defense, and 7 defense for 5. You're buying one of these. It's never getting KO'd, and so it's a 5/7 blank text.
When KO deal, 1, 2, or 3 damage is good. Not great. Definitely not in draft.
Totally. A D. And possibly pushing F to my mind now. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
With Absorbing Man, if it's on level 3, 6 damage if you KO it. It's a lot. Probably not worth it, but...
Yeah. For that reason, I guess you could put it on D because there are things that do it better, but it's playable in that sense. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
D. What do you say? D?
Yeah, D, yeah.
Okay. The next one's Engine of War, and if the ability looks similar, then it is. When Primaris Redemptor Dreadnought is blocked, deal damage equal to its level to target opponent. If you do, KO it at the end of the turn.
I like this better. It's guaranteed damage in drafts, which is good. It's probably the most damage output we've seen for a draft card in this set. I put D. I don't mind the stats. I like the ability because it's damage output. I think I would take this maybe fifth or sixth in a draft.
Yeah.
Maybe even higher, just because it's a way to win the game.
Talking about Hailfire, so because it KOs automatically, it's kind of interesting. You can pay to have it not KO, but maybe the KO thing isn't necessarily a drawback. Maybe it's a benefit because you're not having to do anything for it to KO itself.
But I can't think of any good cards that trigger when your character's KO.
Right now, there's not. I looked because I wanted to know if this was even possible.
So currently, I just gave it an F. I'm not buying this. I'm not fielding it. Never using it.
I graded it off of the hope that something gets printed later. Later. So because of that, I gave it like a C, and I said to myself, if anything gets printed that says do this if your dice get KO'd, something like that, then this card is an immediate slot in because it does it for itself. On to the Primaris Reaver. Lightning Assault.
Yeah, so it has a range 1, 3-cost bolt. Yeah, it's okay. Who cares?
Yeah, it's okay. Is interesting.
It's just difficult to know, never having played range. I mean, you're the one who's played around with the range a bit.
Yeah, I think range is definitely one of those keywords that's great in like casual, semi-competitive kind of things. Where you're not up against the best 8 cards in Dice Masters formats ever. Then range is really good because it does mess with the board. It is a combat trick, and it's a pretty decent one, especially if you have more range characters. So a 3-drop... I think that
Venerable Dreadnought is where it's at, right?
Yes, it is. It is definitely where it's at. So a 3-drop that can give you multiple range triggers, because this triggers per die. Range triggers, you'll deal damage with each of the dice that has range, is good enough. That makes this worth kind of scooping up and draft or putting onto a Space Marines team and running it alongside of the range as ramp maker.
Ugly fielding costs, though.
Definitely ugly fielding costs. So you scoop up the intercessor for that same team.
People are going to mess with range, right? So that probably makes it better than D.
Yeah, it's a C+ in my mind. It's like right on the edge of just being a little bit better than casual. Just range in general, and this is a provider of range. But again, when more people play it, then it becomes more apparent whether or not that actually works. The next one is
Master of Terror.
Master of Terror. You want to hit that one as well?
Yeah, when Primaris Reaver attacks, if the defending player has more, you deal 1 damage to that player.
It's one of those things where you could play a fun game where if you're struggling and you're losing, you attack with like 3 of these, and then all of a sudden you're back to pace, which is kind of cool.
Do you think they all trigger when attacks? So that if your opponent just has more life than you when you attack, they're all going to trigger no matter what? Or you do it one at a time? Yeah,
because when you declare attackers simultaneously, and all when attacks abilities go in to the queue at the same time, so they would all trigger based off of the moment you push all of them forward.
So that could be good. There's ways to manipulate it so you have less life than your opponent.
Yeah, you could do something with that. Take some damage here and there that your opponent may not have been expecting you to take, just to use the ability, I guess. But I think I have this as a C, and it floats around C in my mind. I go back and forth. A lot of these cards I'll go back and forth between like 1/2 point grade.
Yeah, I gave this a D+.
Yeah. Last Primaris Reaver is the most interesting to me. It's a 2-drop version, which makes a lot more sense with that stat line. Then it says, when Primaris Reaver is KO, deal 2 damage divided as you choose to any number of opposing character dice. So this one's easy to get KO'd generally because it's a 1, 2, or 3 on bottom. And then once you do that, you kind of get to spread around the damage additionally. So it's KOing whatever it's getting blocked by. Or it's dealing 1, 2, 3, or 3, excuse me.
This the fielding costs are what puts me off. All of these really. I think I gave this a D as well, just because of the field. I don't want to clear this die because I don't want to pay 2.
Yeah, there's enough there that I stand by that C plus rating. I think, especially because you just mentioned a bunch of interesting things.
C+. Yeah.
Primaris Repulsor, 6 cost bolt character. It's got an 8/8 on top, a 6/6 and a 5/5. Even 5/5 for a 6 drop isn't bad. It's got frag, and then it says when Primaris Repulsor attacks, at least one character die must be assigned to block it. So it's a guaranteed frag, but frag on a 6 drop is just not impactful enough by itself.
I agree.
So we both gave it C's, if you don't mind me spoiling it. You play Raised Shields, right? Because Raised Shields is pretty decent, especially for giving Overcrush. And then you just profit because you're guaranteed this is blocked. And an 8/8 is pretty good. And then the added benefit, maybe just looking at frag as the benefit is not good enough. It's just like you're benefiting 8/8 with which will always be blocked.
Yeah, and that frag is just like a nice little bonus thing.
Yeah. 6 drop Crackstorm Grenade Launcher. This one has a wall of text, so you've got the frag stuff. And then it says, while Primaris Repulsor is attacking, after blockers are declared, if Primaris Repulsor is unblocked for any reason, your character dice get +2 attack until the end of the turn. So why in the world is this ever not being blocked?
You make it unblockable.
That's the only thing, right? You make it unblockable. Go wide, give this unblockable, and then just kind of hope that the +2 attack also matters.
No, but +2 is super strong. You clear the field, then attack with it, and then your psychic suddenly do enough damage.
Yeah, then you win, right? You just win. Yeah. Clear the field. Maybe that's it. Yeah, that's got to be it. You just clear the field. Put this on a clear the field team. Somehow buy it for 6, and then just have like a couple of things in the field that get like
Hellfire
real swole.
Club.
Ooh, Hellfire Club. There you go. That's a good one. And then it's unblocked.
Yeah, you field a couple of things. Then you don't have to have your characters in the field because you just fielded the 2 other psychics you need, or however many.
So let's see. How much would you need in the field? If you had 3 sidekicks, this is dealing.
So say he's top level. He's 8.
8, right. 9, 10, 11, 2, 4, 6. That's 17. That's not enough. One more sidekick. You need 4 sidekicks. So you need 4 sidekicks and 1 level 3 Primaris Repulsor. I gave it a C-.
I gave it a C just because +2 is very strong.
And that's a good reason. That's a really good reason. I'm with you. That's a good reason. Primaris Repulsor, Power of the Machine Spirit, range 2. This card's bad. Let's keep moving.
Yep.
This card, range on a high drop character is just bad. We can all. It's just not worth it. So we're moving on to Reboot Gullyman. How did I say I was going to say it?
Gullyman.
Yeah, we'll go with it.
Gullyman. Yeah.
7 drop, author of the Codex, double affiliated. A 6. I think it's a 6/9 on top. This version has Impulse when purchased. If you control at least 2 active Space Marine character dice, prep it. And then it's got the shield. Pay a shield. The first character die you field this turn is free to field. So basically, the first character die you field this turn cost 1 shield.
Global's good.
Global is good. The rest of it is bad because you're paying a 7 drop. So your 7 drop, it needs to be really impactful. And the impact is that 1, you need 2 other Space Marine character dice. And then 2, this preps. This card's bad.
Yep. Yeah, you probably lost if you buy this.
Yeah, it's D for the global, but everything else is bad. Well, maybe it's not D for the global. It's like for the global, it's like the global could be okay. Maybe like C could playable C, for the global, but D kind of as well. Make something 1. Hey, this global makes all of those Space Marines 1 shield to field. The other one, this one's a 6 drop. Version, Master of Battle. While it's active, your other Space Marine and sidekick character dice get +1/+1.
That sidekick part is important.
Yes. That sidekick part is very important because it makes it playable outside of this set.
6 cost though. I don't know if you ever do it really.
No, it's not super exciting. What if you put this on a team with the really cool Plague Marine that gives +1/+1? And a bunch of Space Marines.
Yeah, then you're playing very casually.
Yeah, then you're playing very casually. Cool. It's exactly right. I gave it a C+ just because it is both in set and out of set, and it's a 6 drop with a fine stat line.
Yeah, we've seen just +1/+1 for sidekicks on other things.
Yeah,
which aren't 6 cost.
Exactly. There's a 4-drop Malekith that just does it better, but doesn't apply to the Space Marines. So maybe you want the Space Marines buffed as well. I don't know. You gave it a D+. It is okay. That's probably more like it.
I wish this had the global. If this had the global, then I would just say throw this on any Space Marines team.
You're right. It probably doesn't make the cut on a Space Marines team. So yeah, I would bump it down. I shouldn't give it a C+, even though it does apply to out of set stuff. All right, last one is the 13th Primarch. 7-drop again.
Oh yeah.
Regenerate.
This is a joke, isn't it?
Regenerate. I like this one. I would take Regenerate over Impulse Prep It, but
I don't know.
It's trashy.
This would actually, to be fair, just for the troll factor alone, how mad would your opponent be if they've spent all this time getting that 6/9 out of the field,
and then it comes right back, and then it just comes right back. This card's
that would be hilarious.
A D to an F. Which should you give it? D or F?
I gave it a D. But it would be hilarious if they spend 9 bolts to ping it off. That would be very funny.
Then you're playing very casually.